Hey, what's going on, everybody? And this is a review of my G&L LB-100 Bass. Himalayan blue, too. This blue with the dark pickguard, I'm like, I had to have it. I actually got this bass a couple years ago at G&L in Fullerton. I'm pretty simple when it comes to reviewing gear. I'm not super technical. I think basically it's got to look good and it's got to play good. It's kind of a modern take from what I remember hearing about this bass. It's a little bit lighter and it's a little bit more slim through the body. It doesn't feel too small or like too light. It still has some heft to it. I dig it. You just got a great tone, you know. You can get a lot of things out of it. And like I said, I'm not very technical. I don't play a lot of slap, even though I mean I can do it a little bit, but I don't really play in my music or in songs with that. But it's fun to do because you can really hear the tone if you're like, as opposed to just, you really can hear what kind of high-end register tone you're getting from your bass if you just kind of give it a little pop. But this bass is really versatile, you know. I mean, there's a variety of ways to play it and get your tone out of it. I play with a pick a lot. You know, I mean, you could push it really hard and get an attack out of it. And there's muted. And you can't really do that with, it's a different feel if you do the palm muted pick thing. The bridge is a solid bridge. I believe it's a saddle mount bridge or something like that. I read it. It goes deeper in the wood and it provides a sustain that is good for the bass. And we want that, right? We don't want a bass that just dies out like that. Like, you want a sustain. That feels powerful if you can get a bass that has a good sustain to it. The tuning pegs are real simple. Again, I think they're a tiny bit smaller version of the P bass. I could be wrong, but they just feel right. They feel perfect. They work great. They do what they're supposed to do. I just changed the strings on this to some Ernie Ball Slinky 45, no, I believe 50, 70, 85, and 105. I normally play 100s. When I used to play 110s, but I'm into like lighter gauge strings right now just because I think I had it all wrong. You know, I was always playing with the pick, playing real heavy, but I like playing with lighter gauge strings now. I think it's just really, really cool. Your fingers can move around quicker. It feels a little bit lighter, and you still get that heft of playing. So it's a bolt-on neck. There's those 6 strong bolts. It just feels like a well-crafted bass. You know, I mean I really don't know how to put it into words in terms of like describing it, but for me, it just got to feel right and play right. And what that means is that, you know, anywhere on the neck, that it feels and plays good. You know, the neck feels great, and the clarity with some of the stuff you can get out of it. Is really, really cool. And now, you know, I do see a lot of people do the tone knob, but to be honest, the tone knob, it does dull it a little bit. I just feel like it dulls it. Like, put it on 100, leave it there, you know? You wanted this? It just kind of feels muffled to me. Now, that can be cool and you can go for that, but I mean, there's also another way to get to that. You can do your fingers. You know, that's kind of muffled compared to, and I like playing with the pick. I don't frown on that at all. A lot of bass players like frown on that, like it's not really bass playing. But get that out of here, man. Picks are great, fingers are great. However you want to do it's great. But that is the tone right there. Let's do the tone with your fingers. That's fully on the tone. And let's turn it off. I basically always do it up. I'll tweak the settings on my amp, and I feel like I get a lot of tone the way I'll just play with my hands and my fingers and playing it. Sometimes I might take a little edge off, but generally I like the treble on bass because bass is such a low instrument anyway, so I leave it all the way up and just play. The one thing I like about this LB-100 is that it has that traditional P bass thing where the higher strings, if you're going to play the D and the G string, or even go higher, it has a lot of girth to it. It still has that, upper mid-range or even lower mid growl, where a lot of basses, it's just the low end, and when you go high, you lose it. You don't hear it in the mix, or you don't hear it live. But P bass is always traditionally, and you could go up high and play up there, and you still hear it. It's registering and it's loud. So if you're here, any bass pretty much down here is going to be pretty solid now, but the P bass, or the LB-100, it still has weight when you go play it up here. It has loudness, and I love that. Other basses are missing that. I don't know what it is about, P basses or these LB-100s or this style of bass, but I love that you don't disappear when you go on the high strings or you go up higher. So, the neck feels really, really good. It's a traditional type of precision neck. It's a little bit wider, it's a little bit bigger, but it feels good in my hands. It's not too big at all. Again, I think it's probably a slightly modernized size of a traditional precision-based neck. It's a little bit, maybe a hair more like a jazz, but it's definitely not going to a jazz neck. So when I'm playing that, don't you see that the open notes, there's a lot going on there. That's loud. Then when you go down to the lower section, that is still low and that is still loud there too. So it's a very versatile bass, and you can get that kind of scooped out. There was a very modern sound, I believe, in like the 90s when you had like a really scooped out midsection. It was all low and super highs. And I was into that for a while, but I kind of I wanted to go back to a traditional, just, precision-based sound where there's a lot of throaty mids, there's plenty of lows and even subs, and then there's a crispy high too on the top end. So you can get that with this, and you can definitely go ahead and scoop out mids on your bass amp and get crazy and kind of get any sound you want. I think it's super versatile. It's why it's probably one of the most popular kind of basses, the precision style, in the world. Just a beautiful bass, I love looking at it. I mean, God bless something where you want to, you just love the way it looks. I think looks matter. Doesn't it matter when you eat? When you sit down to a meal, don't you want it to look incredible? I mean, then it just tastes so much better. It just goes together. The look, the feel, the playability, the sound, it's a wonderful bass. I dig it. So that's it. All right. I appreciate you cruising by and checking out my review of my LB-100 Himalayan Blue bass guitar. All right, let's jam out of here.